So speaking of those personal accolades, for much of the season, it's been a two-horse race for the MVP. However, things have gotten much more interesting of late. Cam and Brady still leading the conversation, but Russell Wilson, Carson Palmer, they're now in the mix as well. Cam balled Sunday. We can't deny that. 5 TDs, was the team's leading rusher with 100 yards on the ground. Shannon, did Cam lock it up, the MVP, this Sunday?
I believe he did, because he did something Sunday that had never been done in the 90-plus year history of the National Football League. Throw 5 touchdowns, pass for 300 yards, rush for 100 yards in the same game. He did that. He's passed for 5 touchdowns 3 times this year. I think the record is 4 by Peyton Manning in 2004. And if you look at all the guys' numbers, you know, Carson Palmer's 32 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Cam 33-10. Tom Brady 35-9. So if you look at the touchdown, they're right there. Cam has, I think, 7 rush touchdowns. Carson has 1. I think Brady has 2. But the 14-0 record is undeniable. They went to Seattle. We think Seattle's a very, very good football team, and they beat Seattle. They beat the Packers, who's leading the NFC North division. It's hard to get better than 14-0 when you only play 14 games. So you look at his body of work, you look at what he's done. Early in the year when we were talking about Cam as an MVP candidate, everybody says, well, he doesn't have any numbers. Look at his completion percentage. Look at his QBR. 33 touchdowns and 10 interceptions is pretty good, with another 7 rush touchdowns, 500-plus rushing yards. See, you just can't look at him as a thrower of the football. He's probably asked to do more than probably these other guys, because if you look at him, he's made Ted Ginn Jr. Really a viable receiver. I call him 50-50, because there's a 50% chance he catch it, there's a 50% chance he drops it. But as of late, he's been phenomenal. And I'll give the nod to Cam, and I think he sold it up. Because 2 of the last 3 games, his team was behind or tied in the game, and he let them down for a game-winning field goal against the New Orleans Saints 3 weeks ago, and we saw what he did on Sunday. I think it's his.
And it sounds like you have Carson Palmer second, because you kept relegating Brady to 3rd mention in all the stats.
Well, we're splitting hairs. I mean, second, third, it doesn't matter. It's kind of like...
It's over. It's like game over.
Who's Miss Universe? Miss Philippines. So first and second runner-up doesn't matter.
Oh, well, speaking of that, I'm going to have to switch the crown at the last. Yes, I'm going to have to switch the crown.
I get it. Okay.
Look. I keep saying this. I take 0 away from what Cam Newton has done this year, because it is sensational. Yep. This has been his breakout greatness year, where he arrived at greatness, maybe all-time greatness if he can sustain this.
Right.
I wasn't sure up to this point. I was a big proponent of his coming out of college, but I hadn't seen this yet.
No.
And then I saw it. So I give everything that you just said, I give it all high credence. But I got to tell you, as much as I gave in to Stephen A. on Monday, and I said, look, I will give you this. Cam has at least caught Tom Brady. He's at least pulled even with Tom Brady. The more I hear you talk about Cam, the more it ticks me off about how you relegate Brady and what he's done. You just dismiss it and sweep it under the carpet. And I do think, not just in you, but in football in general, there's still a lot of Brady hate over Deflategate, because he was widely condemned as a cheater and a liar over Deflategate.
But
even
not
though
by the fans, because he was the leading vote getter in the Pro Bowl ballot.
Okay, but I still think when it comes, maybe it's more media, maybe it's more analysts. I just think people would be reticent and hesitant to give Tom Brady the MVP this year after all that went through, because most people would side with the league on this and hope that the league can pull through an appeals process.
But I think before the losses, I think Tom was in the lead.
Okay.
But then you lose to Brock Osweiler, you lose to the Philadelphia Eagles and Sam Bradford.
Yep. Okay.
And Cam has been. But Skip, when you play 14 games, you're undefeated, and your numbers are very similar. How do you give it to the guy that's lost 2 games?
Let's talk about numbers quickly in numbers. Tom Brady leads in passing yards in the National Football League. He leads in passing touchdowns. He leads in touchdown to interception percentage rate.
Yes.
Okay? Because he's 35-6. He leads in passing first downs, and he leads as an offense in offensive points scored per game. Okay, all of which was accomplished behind a makeshift patchwork offensive line that got worse by the snap this year as they mixed and matched injury situation after situation. You know, he lost weapon after weapon after weapon. Dion Lewis to Edelman. Amendola's been in and out, and now he's out again. Gronk was gone for a while. What he has pulled off has been near miraculous to me. Speaking of, in those two losses you mentioned, at Denver, Philadelphia, he almost pulled off miraculous comebacks in both. The drive he put on in Denver to get them to overtime was as great a Tom Brady drive as I've ever seen. And the comeback against Philly after the disastrous, tumultuous turnovers and returns that they allowed was spellbinding.
And the 99-yard INT return he allowed.
Okay, but it was a tipped pass that went.
But he threw it. He forced it.
Okay, at the goal line, he threw ball. It was a great play by the defender. The pass was on the money, but the defender, Walter Thurman, tips it up.
But you keep saying the great drive that he led down and almost won. Cam has led great drives, and they won.
No, he has. Okay.
So when you get down to it, Skip, and the numbers are very similar: 35-6, 33-10, 32-9.
Okay.
They're undefeated.
Okay. Do you realize, without me nitpicking here, I can show you 6 Cam games early in the year. If I just go on QBR, they're below mediocre.
Yes.
And they counted. Those games count in what we're talking about right now. So I'm going to have to count those games as I'll give them mediocre at best games. They counted. And when you say deep threats, Tom Brady has no deep threat. I get you. Ted Ginn Jr. is 50-50. He's also 50. No, he's about 75-25. He's going to run by any corner who tries to cover him.
But you know what Tom Brady has that nobody else has? He has the most valuable non-quarterback playing in football, and that's Rob Gronkowski.
When he's healthy.
Yep. He also has the greatest head coach in NFL history.
I could debate that, but...
He's the only guy that has the same owner, same head coach for 15 years.
So should that discount his performance?
But you're trying to discount Cam's performance because you said
I can just do it with the numbers. Now you're doing it
but did they win?
Yeah, they won 14 times. I can't take it away. Okay?
So what are we debating then?
Okay, we're debating that Tom Brady was not completely at fault for the Philadelphia loss, where he almost brought them back from nowhere. They were completely out of the game. He actually played really well in that game.
Carolina was really led by their defense. Their defense gave up 38 points to New Orleans. 38 points to New Orleans.
Well, 35 to the Giants for that.
And what you saw Cam on the sideline with the towel on his head. He looked up at the scoreboard.
Yeah.
I got this.
Hey, for the first 9 games of the year, Tom Brady played quarterback on a level I have never seen any quarterback ever play.
But
those count.
But unfortunately, they didn't have the MVP out then. So what has he done the last 5? Look at Cam's last 5 games.
Yeah,
and look at the record. He's unblemished.
So it's what have you done for me lately then?
But here's all you're looking at is Tom Brady's throwing numbers. What about Cam's rushing numbers?
They help. They contribute.
They help? Just
Sure.
help. Okay.
Okay. But in the end, I just gave you all those big passing numbers, and they're all better than Cam's. Every one of them. Cumulative numbers for the whole year.
Yes, he's thrown more yards. He has a better QBR. He has a higher completion percentage. But at the end of he has 2 more touchdowns passing. Cam has how many more rushing touchdowns? How many more rush yards? That's a part of their offense.
Okay.
His job is just not to throw the football.
Okay. Who's had consistently the better supporting cast the whole year? Tom Brady or Cam Newton? Cam Newton.
But you know what, Skip? We really can't base it on supporting cast. That's not how you determine an MVP. It's still a stat number. And Cam has the stats to back up that 14-0 resume. I don't know how. Now, look, I think it's going to be close. At one point, maybe the first, 7, 8 games, it was probably going to be unanimous, Tom Brady. But Cam kept playing better. Also, Carson Palmer. He threw his name into the hat. Now, I think Russell Wilson has done a little bit too much too late because he's playing phenomenal.
Hey, his last 5 games are maybe the best 5 straight I've ever seen anybody play.
Exactly.
He's worked his way into the conversation.
He has, but I think when it's all said and done, they play Atlanta this week, Carolina Panthers, they play Atlanta, and they get Tampa at home. I don't know how over the last 2 weeks somebody overtake him.
Okay, but look at the degree of difficulty that Tom Brady now has going to the Jets on Sunday. arch rival in the division, a team that's pretty hot right now, the Jets.
He's going against Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Okay, all right.
He went against Tyrod Taylor. He went against Ryan Tannehill.
No Edelman, no Amendola. Gronk is still gimpy at best and is 50-50 on whether he's going to catch the ball at this point because he's thinking about his lower leg more than he is about catching the football. So what you realize the primary back right now is Joey Iosifa. Joey Iosifa is your primary ball carrier going to the Jets. It's like Tom Brady or bust. Tom Brady against the world.
I think because these guys aren't, say, Odell Beckham Jr. or Julio Jones, or these guys aren't Adrian Peterson, we automatically dismiss how good they are in that system. Maybe now somewhere else, they're just guys. They wouldn't be anything. But in that system, they're perfect for what they do.
Okay, this always boils down to this to me. Tom Brady's been great for a long time, so he's always great. It's okay. Let him be. But Cam's having a breakout year, so let's give Cam the MVP. Okay, that's how it always boils down to.
I also think, though, to your point, outside of New England, no one wants to see Brady win this year because of Deflategate, and they hate on him because the golden boy factor. But one thing I want to mention, would give Cam credit. In going into the season, we thought he had no weapons, so he couldn't go this far. Now he has better weapons compared to Brady because they've been decimated by injuries. But initially, we didn't think he had solid guys.
He's throwing to Jericho Cotchery,
who's actually been pretty good.
The Jets didn't want Jericho Cotchery anymore.
I know, but he still makes plays.
The Steelers didn't want Jericho Cotchery anymore.
Okay, but you're underestimating. You're being too hard on Ted Ginn. Listen,
Gronk,
in pads, I think Ted Ginn's the fastest player in the league right now.
Outside of a quarterback, I can make a case that Rob Gronkowski is the most dominant football player.
When he's healthy, I will agree with you.
Non-quarterback, he's the most important player to any team in the National Football League. And he plays with arguably he plays with a Mount Rushmore quarterback, and you can make the case that he's the greatest quarterback.
Yeah.
So you got the greatest quarterback and the most dominant player in football that's a non-quarterback on the same team.
Who's been out, and even after he's come back.
He's missed one game.
I know, but if you watch the Tennessee game, he looks tentative on his gimpy leg.
Yeah, he knows that leg is injured.
There were 3 balls against Tennessee that he did not hang on to, that he's not focused on. Like, I don't know. We're going to talk about Des Bryant's miserable year for the same reason. We'll talk about that.
All right, so Team Cam, Team Brady, but we're going to focus on the divisions too, the playoff races, both the AFC and NFC. First, the AFC. Tom Brady has been the toast of the AFC this season, but that big guy in Pittsburgh, he is coming on strong. Should Brady's bunch be worried? Find out next. We'll get into that.